Hi, Belfast. Okay, so let's go through Monday's task so that you have a good idea. Remember, you can always come back to this video if you forget or are not sure what to do. Okay, so we're basically continuing on from the same idea that we were before, but now we're going to try and simplify it even a little bit further. Okay, so on the first slide, now these are not the same questions that you have. So I've changed the questions just for the video. But you're going to be looking at this, and there's two ways. So on this side here, this is, right, this side here is what we've done before. Okay, so that's what we did last week. Okay, so you would start by plugging your 7 in here, splitting the 83 into 80 and 3. Whoops. And 3. Just hang on, I gotta close the door here. Okay, so 80 and 3. And then we can go ahead and say, all right, what's the area? So 7 times 80. 7 times 8 is 56. Now, if you don't have, plus 1 shift, yeah. Now, if you don't have your times tables memorized, I will put a table in our school, in our math classroom that you can refer to if you need to. And then 7 times 3 is 21. Okay, so then I would take those two numbers and I would add them together. You might need to write them down and line up the 1s and the 10s. If you need to do that, that's fine. So that would be 500. Now 60 plus 20 is going to be 80, and then the 1. So 581. Now, what I want you guys to do over here is we're essentially doing the exact same process, okay? But I'm wanting you to see that it's the same, exactly the same thing that's happening here, okay? So I would be taking the 7 and I'd be splitting the 80 into, or the 83 into an 80 plus 3. Okay, and then if you notice that orange arrow is saying 7 times 80, just like we did over here, right? 7 times 80. So you can take that exact number, okay, and plug it in there, okay? And notice there's an orange line underneath that showing that it would be that first number times that first number. Then you're going to take that 7, and then you're going to be also timesing it by 3, just like we did here. So this is called the distributive property. So for something to distribute means, like I would distribute papers in a classroom, I would hand them out to each person in the class because I'm distributing the paper. And so in this case, we're distributing the 7 to both the 80 and the 3. Okay, so I would get then 21 here, and then I would add it up and get 581. Okay, so it's exactly the same thing that we were doing. We're just not drawing the boxes anymore. Okay, so we're gradually, with each of these questions, going to work our way towards that process, okay, of not using this. So if you can go directly into this, then go into this side here, then go for it, okay? If you would like to figure it out, showing this, so I'll just demonstrate this one. So on the side, I'd be splitting my 36 into a 30 and a 6. And then here would be a 70 Splitting that second number, that's 70 and the 9. So now in this rectangle, I have a side length of 30 and a side length of 70. 3 times 7 gives me 21 and 2 shifts. So the 2 zeros, the 0 from the 70 and the 0 from the 30. Then I have to take that 30 and distribute it or multiply it also to the 9. So my side lengths in this rectangle are 30 and 9. Okay, so I would be multiplying 3 times 9, which is 27, and then a shift. Okay, then I go to this rectangle. Now I'm taking the 6 and I'm multiplying it by the 70, which is going to be 6 times 7 is 42 and a shift. And then I'd have to distribute that 6 also to the 9. So 6 times 9 is 54. Okay, now I can take those, I can maybe write them on a piece of paper, lining up the ones, the tens, the hundreds, just like we would put them into a fusion machine. You have to line up all the same positions. Okay, and then I would add these guys up. So if I was going to do this in my head, I would have 2,000. My hundreds is going to be 400, another hundred's 500, and then 2 more hundreds here. So that's going to be 600. Okay. Then I look at my tens, and I have a 20 and a 7, which is going to give me, let's add the 70 and the 50 together, which is going to give me 120 plus 20 more, 140. So I'd have to add another 100 here. I'd have 740, and then in my ones column, all I have is 4. Okay, so then I'm going to mimic that exact same question by splitting up my 36 into a 30 and a 6, and then 70 and a 9. Okay, and then I can go ahead, and the orange is telling me to go first number here times the first number here. So I'm distributing that 30 to the first number in that second set of brackets. So that leaves me with same as I had over in the boxes. Okay, then I'm gonna do, now I keep working with that same 30. And now instead of timesing it by 70, I'm gonna times it by 9. So I'm going to go 30 times 9. Well, I've already got the answer. I just need to look in my boxes there. Okay, and that's going to be 207. Now I'm done with the 30. So now I move on to the 6, and I have to multiply the 6 by the 70 and then the 9. So 6 times 70 is going to give me 420. And then 6 times 9 is going to give me 54. And I already know the total to that because I added it up already. So I get 2,744. Okay, so these two here really are the same process, just written in a different form. Okay, so next grouping. Okay, now we've just gotten rid of the boxes. Okay, so I would take my 26 and I would split it into a 20 and a 6. And then I would take my 60 and split that into a 60 and a 7. So if you notice, there are 4 digits. And when there are, whoops, let's move this guy in a little bit. When there are 4 digits, if you notice, I end up with 4 numbers all added together at the end. Okay, so that should happen every time. Okay, so if I have 4 digits, I should have 4 numbers to add up. In this first one, okay, I have just 2 digits actually in that second number. So that's not consistent now that I'm thinking about it, because I only have to multiply the 7 times the 80 and then the 7 times the 3. So yeah, anyways, so back to here. Okay, I've split up my 20 and my 6, and then my 60 and my 7. And now I take that 20 and I make sure that I multiply it by both the 60 and the 7 in that other set of brackets. Okay, so 2 times 6 is 12. And then if you notice, there's a 0 with the 20 and a 0 with the 60. So that's 2 shifts. Okay, then I do take that 20, keep going with the 20. The 20 times 7 is going to be 14. And there's a 0 in the 20, so I need to do a shift. And then here, now I'm taking the 6 and I'm going to distribute it to both the 60 and the 7. So 6 times 6 is 36, and then there's a shift with that. And then I have the 6 times 7, which is 42. Okay, so then I would take all of those, I might write them on a piece of paper and line up the ones, the tens, the hundreds, okay, and the thousands. Or if you're good with mental math, you could just add them in your head. So I am going to put my 1,000 down, and then I'm going to add all my hundreds. So I have 200 and 300. That gives me 500 plus 1 more 100, so that's 600. Now I'm going to take my tens. That's a 60 and a 40. Ooh, that's going to give me, and then another 40. So that's going to give me 140. So that's going to Shazam up to one of the 100. So instead of 600, I'm going to do 740, and then 2 is the only ones digit that I have. Okay, so that is today's task. So it's going to continue. So in this one here, I have no arrows. So you're going to have to learn as you go, and it gets progressively more scarce. So this one's the same. There's one side with arrows. There's one side without arrows. So you're going to have to sort of learn the process as you go. Then in the next one, I don't have the arrows. And in fact, I take away these colored lines underneath. Okay, so now it's you figuring out what was I supposed to do here. So once again, you're practicing and you're learning how this works. And then in the last two, all I have is just the text box. And so in this case, you would have to put a bracket in and go, that's going to be 90 plus 6 bracket times, so you're splitting up the number 10 plus 5. Okay, and then you go ahead and you multiply. So I do the 90 times the 10 is going to give me 9 shift. And then I take that 90 and I multiply it by the 5, right? All these numbers end up being added together. Okay, so 9 times 5 is 45 and a shift. Okay, and I keep going. So now I've distributed the 90. Now I have to take that 6 and distribute it. So by the time you get to here, you should know how to do the process. Okay, so I will be in class if you have any questions. All right, take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.